What's up, Collectivers? Welcome to episode 29 of the TV show. Today we're going to be talking about what is the future of Star Wars after Solo movie. Hey guys, episode 29. So today we're going to talk about Solo. My name is Richard Melbourne. Welcome to episode 29. We're going to first we've got Johnny. How you doing, mate?
What's up, guys? Welcome back.
And we've got the Rick Meister himself, who I'm sure will have nothing to say on this subject whatsoever.
I just want to say I love Disney. Go Disney.
My sarcasm meter just went off then. Jesus Christ, Rick, red line? What? So yeah, today we're going to talk about the future of Star Wars after a solo Star Wars story just came out, which sounds weird to even say it like that. So we're going to talk after that movie came out and the box office flop it seems to be. We're going to talk about everything from Kathleen Kennedy's position within Lucasfilm. We're going to talk about the do they do too many? Is there too many Star Wars films coming out? Is this fan fatigue? Is this fan backlash? How does it relate to The Last Jedi? Everything. We're going to talk about it all. So I'm going to start it off and I'm going to leave a quick review. I went to see Solo last week. I went opening night at my local cinema. And this is, I think, one of 4 opening nights I've ever been to. This is 12 o'clock at night going to see a film. And this is ridiculous, especially with someone with a child. So I went to see Solo. And I was actually quite excited for it. Actually, I was tired, but I was like, yeah. By the time I got there, I was buzzing. And they had 5 screens on for it, and there was about 50 people in there. Like literally 50. I could have probably counted like how many people were waiting in the lobby to go in, and there was 5 screens. In my screening, there was about 15 people. This is for the midnight showing, so already I'm thinking, yeah, this is not going to end well for Solo. But I was optimistic about the film. I went in. And started off, I was like, yeah, okay, this is good. The opening sort of thing happened. It wasn't a crawl, but it was close enough. And I was like, okay, a bit better. So when I started watching it, and as it kept going and kept going, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm liking this, but there's not that wow moment. You think about Rogue One, you think Rogue One was a great movie. It was a good movie, but you get to the end and Vader has that scene, and you're like, wow, that is the thing that you come out of it, and you're like, did you see that scene with Vader? Oh my god, that was amazing. And that is the thing you talk about, like with friends. You're like, oh my god, that Vader scene. Oh my god, this. As much as I like the rest of the film, that is the scene that will stand out to people. And I came out of Solo, and I was like, I enjoyed it. It was a good movie, but there was no memorable scenes in it. There was no thing that I was like, wow, that was a Star Wars movie. Wow, that was amazing. Oh my god, did you see that? I never had that throughout the entire movie. As much as it was a confident movie, it was good, and I liked a lot about it, there was nothing that jumped out to me. And I was like, from any other movie, that's fine. From a Star Wars movie, you want to come out feeling like, wow, I was just part of a universe. Wow, I was part of a galaxy. Wow, these characters. Oh my god, that battle. Oh my god, this. And I just didn't have that. It felt very mediocre. As much as it was good, it wasn't great. And that's something that stood out to me a lot getting home, and I was like, there was nothing that stood out. Now, Donald Glover, Lando Calrissian's portrayal was really quite good, actually, one of the standouts. Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo did a decent job. I think that the fact that we'd already know what Han Solo looks like at that age, because that's when he started Star Wars, really puts a bit of a hampering on your judgment, because you know what Han Solo looked like, you know how he acted at that age. So I think it's a bit, you have to kind of suspend belief a bit. And then I think that Paul Bettany's character, who plays a sort of a villain in the piece, I think that he was a bit of a throwaway character. I know it was recast with Paul Bettany late on because the original guy couldn't do the reshoots with Ron Howard and everything. But I think he did a decent job. I just think he's very forgettable. Woody Harrelson's character, decent, put it in a decent thing, but it was very predictable, and I felt that he didn't really go in many places. And then Khaleesi, I think her role in it is one of the best movie portrayals I've seen her do. I know that she's not called Khaleesi, by the way, from Game of Thrones, and I think this is, compared to Terminator Genesis that she did, I think this is a really good portrayal that she did. The cameo was a bit forced for me, a bit throwaway, but I just don't know, I just didn't come out of it feeling like, wow, I saw a Star Wars movie. I felt like, yeah, that was a good movie, I was entertained, yeah, it was alright. So Guys, have any of you seen Solo? What do you think of it? So Johnny, I know Rick hasn't seen it. Johnny, did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm kind of going into it knowing that that's not Harrison Ford. I'm going in with an open mind. You know, I know it's not Harrison Ford. I know he's not the Han Solo we know, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I think at the moment the problem is you know, I don't necessarily think Star Wars fatigue is kicking in. I think there is bad Star Wars fatigue kicking in. Like, for me, Star Wars fatigue kicked in after Episode 7. I personally didn't like Rogue One. I wasn't overly keen on The Last Jedi. And Han Solo, you know, it's off to a rough start straight away because, you know, there was absolutely no need for this film. So I think, genuinely, if all of the Star Wars films that had come before were good, like including The Last Jedi, which I know a lot of people loved Rogue One, like majority of people loved Rogue One. I seem to be in the same kind of situation as Rick with Infinity War, where I'm one of the few people that didn't like it.
Yep.
But no, I honestly I think with this film, it's somewhat it didn't need to be done. We know what Han Solo looks like you said, at that age already. You can kind of guess, you know, the relationship between him and Chewie anyways. You know, I know they're going to be going over, like, how he won the Millennium Falcon off Lando. I know they're going to be showing the Kessel Run, which, you know, these are the things that people would want to see in a Han Solo film. I just don't feel like they necessarily needed to make that. I think what they should have done is they should have done, like, Boba Fett first. Somebody that has minimal screen time, was iconic because of how he looked in his armor. Nobody knows what he looks like as a particular actor. And they could have, you know, built on that. That's what they should have done first, I personally feel.
Well, I think that this all came out because one, Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote some of the original Star Wars and that, he wanted to do a solo film. It was one of the things that he always said, I know Han, I created Han, I want to write a Han solo movie, and I think that him and his son wrote the movie, and they thought they could do a good job. Now, the problem that comes with this movie, and probably a lot of the other films, is mismanagement and bad decisions from Lucasfilm, which all boils down to Kathleen Kennedy, which is why she's getting a lot of flack right now.
So am I right in saying that this Kathleen Kennedy is like the, what's his name? Kevin Feige of Star Wars?
Yes, she's the Kevin Feige of Star Wars, but she doesn't really comment on Rebels or anything like that. She just focuses mainly on the movies. She basically made her name as a producer. She was a producer on a lot of Steven Spielberg films like Jurassic Park and stuff like that. And a lot of people say that when they come to her defense, and I'm like, well, yes, but those were Steven Spielberg movies. He was the one in charge. He was the one making decisions. She basically answered to him. She wasn't in charge, which is a big difference. You know what I mean? Being a second in command to a first person making all decisions is a big difference. But she has a lot of political ideals as well, and a lot of personal things. She's very much on the Me Too campaign, or whatever it's called, with feminism in Hollywood. She's very much on the female agenda campaign and stuff like that. And I feel that Star Wars fans are predominantly men, and they always have been, and they won't always be, but they are. And I think that her comments towards people after The Last Jedi, which were, well, these movies weren't made for you, and we don't care, we don't need men to succeed, and the Force is female, and all this, I think that put a lot of people off, and she should have not said those things. Like, she basically said that the older generation don't matter anymore. Well, these are the people, Kathleen, that are turning up at 12 o'clock at night to watch your movies still. These are the people who made Lucasfilm for the $4 billion that Disney paid for it.
Yeah, you can't make Star Wars and not include the people that were there from the very start.
Well, these kids that she says that it's for now are not the ones who are going to be bankrolling your movies. I'm sorry to say they're not yet. But I feel like she has pushed so much social agenda in Star Wars movies too quick. Listen, Star Trek and Star Wars and other things have always tried to push the boundaries of social agendas and political agendas, but it's becoming a bit too blatant. Like, I'll give you an example of the recent film Solo. There's a droid in it called L337. And in the bio of the droid, it says that she doesn't need no man. She built herself. She's actually got breasts for a droid, by the way, like a bit of an a hump in that area. And she's basically walks around the film saying droids' rights, freedom to droids, and telling other droids that they're despicable for letting somebody talk to them like that. And Han Solo sits in a chair at one point. This is not a spoiler, but she says, "You're presumptuous, aren't you? Get out of my chair. Who do you think you are?" And all this stuff. And this is a droid. This is supposed to be the first female openly droid. Now, I don't know why droids have to be male or female. Why do they have to have a gender? They're a droid. I feel like this is something that C-3PO was never classed as anything. He was a droid. No one ever cared if he was male or female. And I feel like this is something she has hammered in to the thing. And listen, I'm all for women getting more roles in movies. But there's a point where it's getting ridiculous. Like, somebody was highlighting Chris Pratt getting paid more than Bryce Dallas Howard in the recent Jurassic World film. Well, yes, but Chris Pratt is a bigger name. He's a bigger star. Yeah. He brings a lot more people into the cinema than Bryce Dallas Howard does. So that's why he gets paid more. Not because of he's a man or a woman, but then no one mentions that Jennifer Lawrence got paid double Chris Pratt for Passengers. So no one mentions that, but the fact that Chris Pratt got paid more by Bryce Dallas Howard. Same with Mark Wahlberg having to give his fee to charity for that All the Money in the World movie because he got paid $2 million or something, and Michelle Williams got paid $100,000. Well, Michelle Williams is not a star. She's an actress, and she was in Dawson's Creek and other stuff, but Mark Wahlberg's a big star. He probably had to cancel other shoots or whatever to do this, and that's probably his rate. So it's not to do with gender, and it's to do with star quality and to do with how much this person is worth. Same as a heart surgeon gets paid more than a nurse. You know what I mean? It's based on what their skill set is and how much they bring to the table. So I think that with Kathleen Kennedy, she's trying too hard to push this female agenda, and I agree with. I like Rey. I like Jyn Erso. Jyn Erso was a push at first because it's in a time when Star Wars was very male oriented. You think about the original Star Wars, but then you think about the original Star Wars again, and Princess Leia was one of the strongest women I've ever known in my childhood and in my life. But she was done in a way that was respectful, and she didn't tread on any man to get to that plinth, to get where she was. I feel like Star Wars now is kind of propelling young girls to be like Star Wars and to be inspired, while they're also bringing young boys down and saying you don't matter anymore. I don't feel that's right. I feel that there's a way to do it that George Lucas found where you can inspire everyone, and she said that girls don't relate to Luke Skywalker. I feel that's wrong. I feel that she has made but I don't think she'll be fired because of that. She'll be fired because she's made very bad decisions in directing. She brought in the guys from 21 Jump Street for Solo, and I spoke to someone who was on set, who was one of the runners while I was at Comic-Con last year, and he said that they were doing things filming not on a schedule. They were like, should we go do some filming now? They were filming a lot of ad-lib stuff, and that's kind of what they do. That's what they did on 21 Jump Street. That's what they've done in their career. Lord and Miller, that's it. And I feel that she should have known that before they came in, that that's how they film, that's how they work, this is what they do. And the fact that they did that, she fired them. So she fired them for doing what they do best. This is what they do best. And then she brings in Ron Howard, who's a competent director, but she already hired someone and fired him. And then she brought in Josh Trank to work on a solo movie, not Han Solo, but a solo movie for the franchise. And after the Fantastic Four film tanked, she sacked him. She brought in Colin Trevorrow after Jurassic World did well, and she sacked for episode 9. And she sacked him, and he's come out recently saying that he enjoyed the process, and there was a bit of bitterness about he didn't agree with a lot of Rian Johnson's story points. Now, Rian Johnson asked J.J. Abrams to change a lot of his stuff at the end of Force Awakens, because J.J. had a different ending for it originally, so that it could fit with his vision. I don't know why Rian Johnson's been given so much clout in this industry where all he's done really is Looper. And J.J. Abrams reignited the Star Trek franchise. He did Lost. I don't know why J.J. Abrams wouldn't get the nod over Rian Johnson in that thing, but Rian Johnson seems to have got on well with Kathleen Kennedy and been given this plinth to be able to promote his message. And I watched something the other day which was interesting, which was an old video, I think from years and years ago, of Rian Johnson saying, I want to make movies where half the people love it and half the people hate it. I don't want to make a movie where everyone loves it. And that's what he actually said. I've seen the interview, the video footage is very young. He says, I love movies where people debate and they argue over it, and they think half of the people think really love it and half of the people really hate it. And I feel like that's what he's done with The Last Jedi. Sorry. And the disrespect that he showed to Mark Hamill, I think I'm joking now. Sorry guys. The disrespect he showed to Mark Hamill to the point where there's actually a special edition extra on the Blu-ray that's director versus Mark Hamill. Did anyone see the Blu-ray? Rick, Johnny, have you seen that yet?
No.
No.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, there's an actual special edition extra that's the director versus Mark Hamill, because Mark Hamill disagreed with pretty much everything that he did for The Last Jedi. I mean, Rick, let's hear your views on it, because I've ranted on for long enough, and I know you've got a lot to say about this. So,
well, yeah, I don't have a lot to say about Solo, mainly because I haven't watched it. But I must be in the minority, because I loved Rogue One, I loved Force Awakens, and Last Jedi. So I'm coming into it. I've had no issues with Disney at all doing the Star Wars films. So it's kind of hard for me to sit here and say, you know, that I feel like they've gone downhill, because I've liked them. But on the flip side, I'm on the minority clearly, because I thought that Infinity War was a disappointing movie. So I didn't enjoy it. It's kind of how Richard was saying he felt with watching Solo and being let down. I feel kind of like I'm let down, you know, with Infinity War. So it's been kind of to me, that was really the disheartening thing that Disney did, is I feel like I was oversaturated on the Marvel side of things. Too many Marvel movies and too many characters in one film. And that disappointed me. The Star Wars hasn't disappointed me. Marvel has disappointed me, that side of it. So I'm coming at it from a different perspective. And I guess, you know, everybody has their own opinions. I still like Justice League better than Infinity War. So I watched it again the other day and I still like it better. So I guess I'm going to be the weird one that says I have no issues so far. I'll see Solo at some point and I'll tell you what I think about it. But right now, I'm good with it. So, yeah, we'll see. I may hate it, but we'll see.
Johnny, what do you think about the future of Star Wars after seeing everyone apart from Solo? Do you think Kathleen Kennedy's going to keep a job after this box office flop that Solo's been? It's just made 264 million. It has to make 500 million to break even.
I would be very surprised if she keeps her job.
It's dropped 77% in the second weekend. It made 28 million over the second weekend in the US.
Problem is it's an overly saturated month as well. It was a film that didn't have like the crazy amount of hype behind it. Not everybody was like, oh my God, I've got to go and see this, because most people were going, that's not fucking Han Solo. I'm not bothered by it. Most people were waiting for everybody else to go and see it and see what they're saying about it.
But that's her decision to make a Han Solo film. She greenlit it.
It was also her decision to put it out then.
Let's be honest, this market is dominated by the first wave of people and the first wave of reviews. So here's my opinion. This is what I honestly think would happen. You could switch Justice League and Infinity War, and here's how you would do it. All you had to have was a few people early on to say they didn't like Infinity War, and everybody would have jumped on the bandwagon. Same way with Justice League, because here's the thing. I have multiple people in my life that I have had watch Justice League who don't know anything about the hype or what people have said about it. And every one of them have loved it. And I've had people who don't know a whole lot about the hype and watched Infinity War and hated it. But everybody that I've ever talked to that knew about Infinity War and knew everybody was raving about it loved it. So what does that tell you? That there is a big factor involved in the first wave. It doesn't matter. Like, if one person comes out and they're the first reviewer and they say Solo is the best movie, and then the next person comes out, people are going to go into it with a different set of expectations. It's all about expectations. A movie can be ruined in the first week.
But no one turned up. But no one turned up, and I think that is purely down to the Last Jedi backlash.
Well, that is.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for episode 29. Talking about future Star Wars. Leave your comments below, and we'll see you tomorrow for episode 30. We're going to talk about E3. What are our predictions and the preview of the conference. So, see you tomorrow.